For centuries, humanity has believed that wealth, power, and control lie in the hands of governments, corporations, and elected leaders. We are told that the world's economy is transparent, that markets move according to supply and demand, and that banks serve as mere intermediaries, helping us save, borrow, and invest. But what if all of that is an illusion? What if beneath the surface of our visible financial world, an unseen force controls the flow of money, the rise and fall of nations, and the fate of millions, without ever being noticed? This is the story of the hidden bank that owns half the world, a shadow empire operating in silence, yet whose influence reaches every corner of our lives. It begins with the concept of money itself. Money, we are told, is currency backed by governments, by gold, or by the faith in national economies. But in reality, money is a tool, one that can be created, manipulated, and weaponized by those who understand its secret codes. And somewhere in the depths of the financial system, a network exists that not only understands these codes but controls them. Unlike ordinary banks, this hidden institution does not advertise its services. It does not have logos on skyscrapers or websites for customers to visit. Its existence is barely acknowledged in any financial report. Yet its fingerprints are everywhere, from the largest corporate acquisitions to the smallest fluctuations in commodity prices, from the rise of billionaires to the collapse of entire industries. This bank has its hands in it all. Historians trace its origins back to centuries-old banking families, whose names have faded from public memory, but whose wealth was passed down in secret, compounded and hidden behind layers of offshore accounts, shell corporations, and complex financial instruments. These families discovered early on that the most valuable power is not control over armies or nations, but over money itself. Money shapes the world quietly, invisibly, without the need for overt violence. But what makes this bank truly extraordinary is not merely the wealth it possesses, it is the system it has built. Unlike a traditional bank that relies on deposits and loans, this institution operates as the central node of a vast web, connecting governments, multinational corporations, investment funds, and even central banks themselves. Through intricate deals, secret agreements, and layers of intermediaries, it influences policies, controls access to credit, and ultimately decides who prospers and who fails. Consider for a moment how a financial crisis unfolds. A stock market collapses, banks fail, and governments scramble to stabilize the situation. On the surface, these events appear chaotic, even unpredictable. But in reality, the hidden bank is often one step ahead, positioning itself to absorb assets, restructure debts, and consolidate control while the rest of the world reacts in panic. Crisis in this system is not a misfortune. It is a tool wielded with precision by those who know the rules that everyone else does not. The influence of this hidden bank is not limited to individual nations. It operates globally, coordinating movements of capital across borders, shaping international trade agreements, and even determining which currencies will rise or fall. Every time a government borrows, every time a company issues bonds, every time investors speculate on commodities, the bank is quietly steering the outcomes. And most people never suspect a thing. Its secrecy is maintained by layers of opacity. Accounts are structured to conceal ownership. Transactions are routed through complex chains of intermediaries, and legal frameworks are exploited to minimize disclosure. Even regulators, whose purpose is to oversee and maintain transparency, often remain unaware of the full extent of its reach, and those who do know are either powerless to stop it or willingly complicit, drawn into the system by the allure of wealth and influence. Some analysts have tried to estimate the scale of this hidden empire. The numbers are staggering. Trillions of dollars move through its networks, far exceeding the GDP of many nations. Its holdings include stakes in major corporations, vast real estate portfolios, strategic natural resources, and even key positions in financial institutions that govern global markets. In effect, it owns pieces of the world without owning a single visible building, without a single branch or logo. Its power is in the control of capital itself. Yet with such immense influence comes risk and enemies. Rival institutions, governments, and even public scrutiny pose threats to the bank's operations. To mitigate these risks, it has perfected the art of invisibility, operating behind the scenes, making strategic alliances and, when necessary, sacrificing lesser entities to protect the core of its empire. In this way, it remains untouchable, even as the world above it seems to collapse around its periphery. History is filled with moments where the hidden hand of this bank has shifted the course of nations. Entire economies have been destabilized not by war, but by the withdrawal of credit or the manipulation of currency values. Industries have risen and fallen, and fortunes have been made and lost, all guided by decisions made in rooms no one knows exist. And yet, to the average person, these events appear random, chaotic, or the result of mismanagement. In reality, they are part of a grand design. What drives this hidden institution? Power, certainly. Wealth, undeniably. But also survival. For centuries, its operators have understood that the key to enduring control is subtlety, patience, and the ability to shape the world without revealing themselves. Unlike governments, which rise and fall, or corporations, which can collapse under scandal, the hidden bank thrives in the shadows, ensuring its continuity across generations. And while most people believe they can influence their financial destiny through work, savings, and investments, in truth, they are often at the mercy of forces far beyond their comprehension. Every loan, every interest rate, every investment decision is filtered through the invisible lens of this bank. Its power is not coercive in the traditional sense. It does not need to force obedience. Its strength lies in creating a reality where options are limited, where choices appear free but are subtly guided, and where outcomes consistently benefit those at the center of the network. Critics of this narrative might call it conspiracy, exaggeration, or paranoia, but the evidence is undeniable for those willing to look closely. Patterns emerge in financial crises, in unexplained market manipulations, and in the systematic enrichment of a tiny elite. The coincidences are too frequent, the timing too precise, and the scale too vast to dismiss as random. Perhaps the most disturbing truth is that this bank, unlike visible institutions, has no accountability. Its leaders are unknown, its decisions unrecorded, and its influence unchecked. Traditional mechanisms of oversight, government regulations, audits, public reporting, are rendered largely ineffective. It operates as if above the law, guided not by public scrutiny, but by the internal logic of preserving and expanding its dominion. Yet even in this darkness, the system is not infallible. Disruptions in technology, shifts in political power, and unprecedented economic shocks can expose cracks. But when such events occur, the bank is often already prepared, having anticipated and adapted long before the rest of the world even notices a threat. It is a predator in a jungle of chaos, always alert, always calculating. And what of the future? As global economies become increasingly interconnected, as digital currencies and financial technologies proliferate, the potential for influence grows exponentially. The hidden bank's methods may evolve, but its objective remains the same: control, stability, and dominance from the shadows. For the rest of the world, the challenge will be recognizing the system in time before it shapes our lives in ways that are irreversible. For ordinary citizens, the existence of this hidden bank may seem abstract, even irrelevant, but its decisions ripple outward, affecting jobs, savings, businesses, and even national security. Every financial move we make, every policy governments enact, every investment we consider, it all occurs within the invisible orbit of this shadow institution. And so, the world continues, largely unaware. Markets fluctuate, governments intervene, crises erupt, and life goes on. Yet beneath this apparent chaos, a hidden empire endures, quietly guiding the flow of money, the fortunes of nations, and the lives of millions. This is the story of a bank that owns half the world without anyone knowing. A bank whose influence is invisible, yet absolute. A bank whose existence challenges our assumptions about wealth, power, and control. And perhaps the most unsettling truth of all is this: while we live our daily lives, this hidden force continues to operate unseen, shaping the world in ways that most of us will never comprehend. In the end, it is a reminder that in a world built on money, the real power is not in what is visible, but in what is hidden. And the true rulers of our world may not be the politicians we vote for, the corporations we admire, or the leaders we trust, but the shadowy financiers who dwell in silence, moving mountains of wealth without ever stepping into the light.